County District Attorney Fani Willis fighting a subpoena to testify before a Georgia Senate committee investigating her and her office.
The committee was formed after all the backlash over Willis's decision to hire her former romantic partner as a special prosecutor on the case against former President Donald Trump. So Sarah Hammond is live for us from the state capitol. And Sarah, Willis was supposed to be there.
Yes, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis's name did appear on the agenda this morning, but she did not show up. She did defy that subpoena as she fights that in court.
Full agenda this morning.
Despite a subpoena calling Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to appear before a state Senate committee, she did not show up at this morning's meeting.
We have subpoenaed Fani Willis to testify. According to press reports, she is defying her subpoena and not appearing, but we will welcome her if she appears at some point during the meeting.
This Senate Special Committee on Investigations was formed earlier this year after backlash over Willis's decision to hire attorney Nathan Wade as a special prosecutor of the election interference case, charging former President Donald Trump and others with crimes tied to the 2020 election. Wade and Willis had a previous romantic relationship. Senators on the committee have said their mandate is to investigate allegations of legal and ethical impropriety stemming from that relationship. Willis has said previously she does not recognize the committee's authority to subpoena her and that the committee has no authority over her office. She's fighting that subpoena in court. The bipartisan committee is considering changes to state law that could hold her and others in her position to more account.
As we complete our mission of investigating some of the alleged misconduct and also ways to improve our statutory authority and laws that govern some of the areas that we've heard testimony on.
The Senate panel can subpoena witnesses and recommend changes to state law, but cannot bring charges or make any disciplinary moves.
That particular meeting on May 23rd,
The committee has already met half a dozen times. They say they plan to meet a few more times this fall, and once they finish the investigation, they will report their findings and any changes they feel are necessary. Live at the state capitol, Sarah Hammond for Atlanta News First.